Hello, good evening. Welcome to Anglia Late Edition. Political debate and discussion focused on the east of England. Coming up tonight. A seaside by-election battle for Nigel Farage, but is anyone joining him for the ride? Possibly a Prime Minister in waiting, but the real race hasn't even started yet. And is World Cup success kicking off a feel-good factor for the nation? Joining us in the studio tonight, Jermy is the Labour MP for South West Norfolk. For the Conservatives, it's the Huntingdon MP, Ben Obese-Jecty. And Pippa Heylings is the Liberal Democrat MP for South Cambridgeshire. Plus the Reform UK leader of Essex County Council, Peter Harris. He's at the Local Government Association conference in Bournemouth. First, the by-election in Clacton that might not be much of a contest. Reform leader Nigel Farage resigned as the town's MP in the face of continuing scrutiny of his finances. He says he's done nothing wrong, but it forces a by-election where he's likely to be the only main candidate, as all the major parties are giving it a pass.
No, I've decided that the people of Clacton should be the judges of my actions. This will be a people versus the establishment by-election. It's a chance to stick two fingers up to the entire establishment, to frankly tell them where to go.
But it could turn out to be Nigel Farage versus Count Binface, the novelty candidate who seems to be the only other one currently considering running.
Am I standing? I mean, right now I'm sitting, and it depends on getting the 10 nominations from the good humans of Clacton, if, of course, Nigel Farage doesn't do a reverse ferret because he's terrified of the prospect of facing me, mano a bino. So we shall see.
So what do voters in Clacton make of all of this?
The other parties, whether it's Conservative, Labour, they just want to get rid of him because he's too much of a threat.
I think it actually proves that the people still want him.
I've heard so many beautiful testimonies about what he has done.
Knowing Nigel, he's got nothing to worry about, you know, he's honest.
You've got to re-elect him. Is he white as driven snow? No. Can he run the country? No.
He's got a very strong following here, and I think they will still support him.
And Mr Farage was in Clacton today, kicking off his re-election campaign. We spoke to him there.
You know, I can seriously say to you, I've done nothing wrong at all. I'm being treated almost as if I was a war criminal, and that is not good for people here that voted for me, and they must be the judges of whether I'm the right person or not. It's entirely up to them. And that's why it's shocking that the two big parties have said they won't stand.
Well, let's speak to our guests now. If we speak to you first, Peter, there in Bournemouth, what do you make of all of this? And is it turning into a bit of a farce if the major parties are not running against Nigel Farage?
Well, firstly, you know, I applaud Nigel for standing. He's a believer in democracy. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. And I think it's really important that the people decide and not the mainstream media or the kangaroo court in Westminster. I think it's hugely important that Nigel is able to put the record straight. I also applaud Count Binface, indeed, if he does stand. At least he's taking part in the democratic process. Where the other parties are scared, you know, running chicken. You know, perhaps the Tories in particular feel that they're worried about not getting 5% and maybe they won't even get their deposit. I'm not sure what exactly the reason is, but I think it's, you know, it's them running scared. They know Nigel will win this. Nigel is an extremely popular MP in the Clacton area. You know, myself and my colleagues have recently been elected in local elections in May, and out of the 5 Clacton seats, we won all 5 of those seats. Reform, and in particular Nigel, is even more popular now than when he got
and if Nigel Farage has done nothing wrong, why is he so worried about the parliamentary standards investigation that's going on here at Westminster?
Well, he's not worried about that at all.
Why not let that run its course then?
Well, the thing is that, you know, he needs to bring this matter to a conclusion. There is, you know, a predetermination from the kangaroo court that it is. And I think that, you know, ultimately, you know, let the democratic process carry out. The people are the boss. The people will decide whether or not Nigel Farage is a good MP for them, and they want Nigel Farage to actually represent them. I know the answer to that. I think the other parties know the answer to that, and which is why they're not standing. And I think that, you know, this is a very honourable thing to do. I've known Nigel for many years, and he is the only politician that actually believes in a democratic process and has never actually changed his views in all the time that I've known him. He's been in politics now, fighting for the cause for 30 years or so now. And yeah, I absolutely, you know, take my hat off to him once again.
Let's come to our other guests in the
very honourable thing.
Let's come to our other guests in the studio. None of your three parties are going to stand this by-election. Well, to all of you, are you worried about losing? Why not?
I think this is a farce, frankly, and I'm glad that Peter recognises that Nigel Farage has been in politics for as long as he has. He claims to be fighting against the establishment. He is the establishment. He spent more than 20 years in the European Parliament, tried repeatedly to stand for a Westminster seat, eventually won, and now he's there. The second there's a bit of scrutiny and accountability, he's running for the hills. The parliamentary process that we all have to go through, frankly, as MPs, is thorough, it's robust. There needs to be a set of rules that holds us to account. Nigel Farage, frankly, thinks the rules don't apply to him. And the second there's an investigation, he's got the only card he can pull, which is to resign. I feel really sorry for the people of Clacton this week.
Ben, what about the Conservatives? Because, of course, this was a seat that was held by the Conservatives. Your candidate was in second place in 2024. I mean, wouldn't a Conservative candidate be able to win this?
So we very much think this is the bread and circuses by-election. And Kemi was very clear as soon as Nigel said that he was going to stand down and trigger a by-election, that we weren't going to stand a candidate and that we would stand in the recall by-election. So I don't think Peter really understands how the parliamentary standards process works. He said that the people of Clacton will decide based on what's gone before. They don't know all the facts, and the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner hasn't finished his investigation. If you look at the current list of MPs under investigation, Nigel was fourth on that list, so it will take some time for the Standards Commissioner to complete that investigation. That could take over a year. And so there's going to be a long time before people actually know the facts. And then whether if a sanction is put in place, then there will potentially be a by-election then, and then we'll be able to have a by-election based on all of the facts. But I think this is pure distraction from Nigel. He is on the ropes. He knows that there are serious questions around the £5 million donation from Christopher Harborne. There are serious questions with the fact that it was flagged to the National Crime Agency with a suspicious activity report, which then opens the door on the debanking episode.
Of course, Nigel Farage says he's done nothing wrong.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? Because he says he has proof that he's done nothing wrong, but he's never provided that proof.
And to you, Pippa, your party would like to see this by-election delayed till after this investigation.
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing here is Nigel Farage is, you know, dodging responsibility for his actions, which he's done all of his life, and this is now evading consequences for his murky financial dealings. So what we have said is, and we're really sad actually that the Chancellor, you know, didn't take the opportunity to block him from resigning and then holding a by-election until the results from the Parliamentary Standards Commission was come through, because we think the people of Clacton deserve the full fat facts, and on that basis they can go to the polls. You know, and without that, why is he doing it? Why is he doing it now? Because if they vote him in and then the Parliamentary Standards Commission finds him guilty, there is another by-election and we go straight into the whole process again. So why 2 by-elections?
So that's at least one election on the cards, and you may be forgiven for thinking the race to be the new Prime Minister has been done and dusted, but it doesn't really start until tomorrow. That's when nominations open for Labour MPs to declare who they're backing. So far, it's only Andy Burnham who's a contender, but any opponents have until next Wednesday to get the support of 81 MPs to join the race. If Mr Burnham is the only candidate, he'll be confirmed in a special leadership conference next Friday. He'll be in Downing Street by the following Monday. Terry, you were one of those who called for Keir Starmer to go. What did Keir Starmer do so wrong?
I think Keir Starmer had a difficult job at hand, to be honest with you, post-general election. I'm pleased with the progress that he made. For me, it was all about the way in which the government was communicating that progress to the public, and it just wasn't cutting through. So I had some sympathy with Keir Starmer. I think he's a decent guy at the end of the day. But I'm really looking forward to nominating Andy Burnham tomorrow. He's shown that he can resonate with the public. He won convincingly in the Makerfield by-election. And I really hope that he builds on the success of the last 2 years, but actually starts to convey to the public what the challenges are and how the government is going to respond to that.
Just on Keir Starmer, don't you owe some gratitude or something to Keir Starmer for winning that huge majority just 2 years ago, including your own seat in South West Norfolk?
Absolutely, and I've always been very respectful of Keir Starmer. He did change our party and he did deliver a landslide election victory, and he has achieved great things over the last 2 years. But there's a realism in politics that actually for me there was a real risk that they would be a reform government in a few years' time if we didn't change the narrative and actually start articulating and communicating to the public what we were doing as a government and how we wanted to change things. And it's really born out of frustration with Keir Starmer. And I'm pleased with what he's done. I'm grateful for his leadership, but it was time for a change, and that's why I'm pleased that Andy Burnham's been able to step up.
Ben, your party has a history of changing leaders when things aren't going so well. Do you think Andy Burnham will be a big boost for Labour? Are you worried about it?
I don't think we're worried about it. I think that we have to play the hand we're dealt, and it'll be interesting to see what Andy Burnham does when he comes in. But there is a real arrogance around the assumption that you can go from being the Mayor of Greater Manchester to return to Westminster after such a long time away and immediately become the Prime Minister, having faced no scrutiny from the media, having articulated no vision for the country, take over and completely change the Cabinet and expect different results. We've seen Labour MPs all over Westminster having quiet conversations in corners, ministers desperately greasing up to the new power dynamic within the Labour Party. You only have to go onto the terrace, Westminster Terrace, to see how many Labour MPs there are out there suddenly enjoying a beer in the sunshine, talking to people that they know can make sure that they get a job in the reshuffle that's coming in a week's time. And so it is a very, very unsightly scene, and I hesitate to think what the new Cabinet will look like.
Pippa, your party called on Keir Starmer to go, so are you pleased he is going and we're getting, presumably, Andy Burnham as our new Prime Minister?
Well, I think it was time for the change, but what we've got to see now is Andy Burnham has got a very, very narrow window to really end the chaos and get us working, the government working on things that really matter to people. And we'll be really holding him and the new Cabinet to account for that, because we can't waste any more time. People at the general election voted for change from the constant chaos of changing leaders. So to have it happening now, isn't a great thing. We've got to see that they're working on cost of living, that they're working on the NHS and getting the economy growing and getting jobs back. That's what we've got to see from Burnham. And his type of localism and regionalism, we definitely think we've got to get power out of the centre from Whitehall and Westminster. However, what's happening at the moment is a very centrally driven way of power grabbing at a sort of mayoral and regional level.
We'll come on to that in a moment. Just quickly to you, Peter. Are you concerned about Andy Burnham becoming Prime Minister? Because, of course, he's shown he can beat reform.
Well, I think that this seems like a political coup and a takeover, and I feel sorry for the people of the United Kingdom. At the end of the day, they did not vote for Andy Burnham. He wasn't even an MP when the manifesto in the last election happened, and now he's been parachuted in, it seems like, and now he looks like he's going to be the Prime Minister. My fear is that the country will lurch even further to the left, although he says that he's going to stick to the awful manifesto that was put forward to the country. So, who knows what's going to happen? I have already written to the Prime Minister-elect appealing to him to review and talk to me with regards to local government reorganisation.
Well, let's come on to that.
And the decision that's been made there.
Let's come on to that, because one of the few policies already outlined by Andy Burnham is devolution of power to the regions. And there are already plans, as we've heard, to cut the number of councils in Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex from 29 to just 11 and install a couple of elected mayors in 2028. In Essex, the new reform-led county council wants to challenge that decision in the courts. It's also launched its 100-day plan. That outlines dozens of measures the party is targeting, like a £7.5 million pothole emergency fund, opposing national grid pylons and the Wethersfield Asylum Centre, looking at the potential for a veterans village for ex-military personnel. possibly having a Made in Essex trademark and promoting an Essex month. So if we come back to you, Peter, all those measures, I mean, they sound very much like the kind of things the Conservative-controlled council were trying to do before you were elected in May.
Well, far from it. I mean, they've had 26 years. I mean, that was a 100-day plan. We've been in power now for 2 months. I think we've been more ambitious in those 2 months than the Tories were for the last 26 years. And I'm extremely excited about the changes that we're making and our plans for the future. I think are very exciting. I'm very, very hopeful for our future. And of course, but we do have local government reorganisation hanging over us. And I was elected to do what's best for the people of Essex, not to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on a political project, which I was asked to spend £20 million on some consultants between now and the end of this year. People were elected me to sort the roads out, the potholes out, to provide the adequate send provision, and other public services, not to spend £20 million on consultants and a further £50 million on IT consultants, are being paid £1,000, £1,500 a day. It's simply outrageous. Experts say that the plan is simply unviable, and it's not our experts, it's the government's own experts that have said that.
Let's come to our guests in the studio.
Is absolutely appalling.
Let's come to our guests in the studio. I mean, is this the case that this is a top-down reorganisation that we're seeing for local government across the east of England?
No, I don't think so. And I think if you look at the consensus before the most recent elections, there was broad support across councils, from the councils themselves, from public consultations. I was a town, district and county councillor in Norfolk for more than 10 years, and what was clear to me is that people were really frustrated that we had too many councils, one council passing responsibility to the other and always sort of claiming it wasn't their responsibility. People ultimately want good services. They don't really care who delivers them. What the government is looking at is reorganising the structure so that it works in local communities. I'm really pleased that Essex sounded like they have a plan when they went into the election. In Norfolk, Reform had no plan, no manifesto pledges whatsoever, really difficult to hold them to account. They certainly didn't tell people that they were going to scrap local government reorganisation, which actually there's a broad consensus that we need to be doing this.
Ben, the Conservative County Council wanted to scrap it as well, though, didn't they? Or want a referendum on it, at least in Essex.
So I can't speak to Essex. Obviously, as a Cambridgeshire MP, we have our own local government reorganisation that we're currently going through, and we fear that it's going to be a gerrymandered stitch-up. I asked Keir Starmer about this during Prime Minister's questions a few months ago, whether the option D was going to be selected, which is the least popular option that nobody on Cambridgeshire County Council voted for, and he assured me that it wasn't. But this week we have the Local Government Association annual conference down in Bournemouth, and news has come back from us that it has been leaked out that option D will be selected by the government. It's being briefed by Labour MPs to councillors, and it's come to us via numerous sources, including both through councillors in my party, in Pippa's party and beyond, that is what's being briefed. And it is absolutely outrageous that this is being briefed out to Labour MPs before it's been announced in the House of Commons. I tried to table an urgent question about it today and it wasn't granted, but the government desperately needs to come to Parliament and explain why it has selected an option that nobody in Huntingdonshire District Council or Cambridgeshire County Council voted for.
Pippa, in principle, isn't it a good idea, though, to have fewer, bigger councils?
Yeah, so we absolutely think that you've got to, as Terry was saying, people just want to know, that the bins get out, that we've got the send provision, that we've got, highways, got the potholes fixed, and they don't really care who's doing it. However, the level at which you've got representation does matter. And if you're actually power grabbing at a higher level, that people are losing representation, we think it should be much lower down. And that's again why what we're hearing, what's being briefed about the option for Cambridgeshire is the least desirable option, and none of the county councils have said that that's the way that we want to go forward. And that's where, again, we're seeing this is centrally driven. This isn't bottom-up saying, how best do we streamline and make our services best fit for the people that they're serving? This is definitely a government project around that. And that's not good news for what would be Andy's first steps for localism.
Well, finally, this Saturday we'll see England playing for a World Cup semi-final place against Norway. Thankfully, it'll be on our screens at a more reasonable time, but are the celebrations contributing to a feel-good factor back home? And could it last? Have you guys been staying up for the football, or did you stay up for the football?
Yes, although I'm really grateful I don't have to stay up quite so late this week. And obviously Monday was particularly challenging because we all had to be back at work in the House of Commons on Monday. But I'm obviously looking forward to Saturday, mainly because I've got quite a lot of family in Norway, so I'm really hoping we do win.
And if we do get to the World Cup final and win, well, that could be the day before Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister. Will that be a feel-good factor?
Well, I think there'll be a feel-good factor just because Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister. This will be an added feel-good factor. And I think if history is any measure, we only ever win the World Cup under a Labour government. So there's clearly good omens.
Ben, what do you make of it? Do you think it does change the vibe during the summer if we win the World Cup?
It's always a great experience when England,
it brings people together,
when England have a great cup run. It obviously brings people together, and we've been playing increasingly looking like a more confident side. I got up early to watch the Mexico game, and it was well worth staying up for. So very much looking forward to Saturday. Hoping we can beat Norway. Hoping we can see an English version of that famous piece of commentary from that historic Norwegian victory back in the day. But hopefully we can turn them over. Argentina look a bit shaky for the next round. So the path to the final is clear. England-France final.
And if we do win, do you think, should there be a bank holiday? Should we all get a day off?
Well, I think we should definitely have some serious celebrations. So it could be the best thing that sort of the new leader of the country decides to do. We called for pubs to be kept open, you know, and that was Max Wilkinson, our spokesperson, who called for it. Initially, government said no, but then they actually did a U-turn and said yes. And I think that was a good decision in the end for most places. So we definitely deserve a good celebration. This is going to be so exciting, I think.
And just to you, Peter, I know you're a football referee, I understand. What have you made of it? And should politics be involved in football? We've seen President Trump's intervention in the World Cup.
Well, I've been involved in football for sort of over 40 years, refereeing, and I love football. I mean, obviously the World Cup is a fantastic event. I mean, being a West Ham fan, of course, it was West Ham that won the World Cup in 1966. I'm just hoping that we can replicate that again this year.
So is it coming home?
For West Ham.
Is it coming up? Well, I certainly hope so. If Harry Kane keeps scoring the goals, and I'm very, very hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful. I think we'll beat the Vikings, and then of course I suspect that we'll beat the Argentinians, and who knows, maybe the hand of God will pay back this time. So I'm looking forward to it, and then we beat the French in the final. I can see it all now.
Very optimistic. Is it coming home to you three, just in a word?
Yes.
I'm not prepared to jinx it.
Pippa?
Yes.
Brilliant. That's all we have time for tonight. Anglia Late Edition is taking a summer break. We'll be back just before the party conferences in September. Don't forget the programme's always available on ITVX. For now, though, a very good night.